Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean, and this is my prediction video for Billy Joe Saunders, Willie Monroe. Now, before I start with the actual prediction, I want to say a couple of things about the build-up to this fight. Some of the things that have happened, in my opinion, have been pretty fucking shameful. Yesterday at the weigh-in. Now, I like a bit of trash talk. I like a bit of entertainment. I like the, do you know what I mean? I like people who give it a little bit. And Billy Joe Saunders, he's a very disrespectful character when it comes to boxing, at least. I don't obviously know what he's like outside of boxing, but when it gets to the sort of fight mode, he's very disrespectful. A lot of people don't like him. Me personally, I find him quite entertaining, and I like all that style. But when you've got your son, now I don't know whether he set him up to do it or whether he just sort of tolerated it, you know, whatever it was. Like, you got your son punching your opponent in the bollocks and then kicking him at the weigh-in. I mean, that's just going way, way too far. I mean, that is just a line that you do not cross. That's just, not only is it just massively disrespectful to the opponent, but you should be embarrassed as a parent to have your son doing that. Do you know what I mean? Live TV, basically just like punching someone in the bollocks and kicking him, because the kid doesn't really know any better. I don't really blame him. He's like well young. He's either been, you know, put up to it, or, you know, he's been indirectly encouraged to do it, you know, because as soon as it happened after, he was there just effing and blinding, you know, telling him to fuck off, and do you know what I mean? Right after it happened. So Billy Joe Saunders didn't say a thing. He didn't look like kind of, wait, that's, you know, that's taking a piss. So yeah, disgraceful behaviour, really. You know, people say, oh, it's funny. It's not funny. It's not funny, that kind of behaviour. Do you know what I mean? You got your kid, do you know, he's punching people in the bollocks and kicking them. What the fuck? So yeah, that's what I want to talk about. Frank Warren as well. I said I saw the interview with the trainer, the one who's having a bit of a barney with Billy Joe Saunders at the gym. Now, he said that he thought it reflected quite badly on Frank Warren. I agree. I think Frank Warren, as the promoter, bringing over Willie Monroe from another country, he's pretty much your guest. So to have, you know, your guest there, he deserves a certain amount of respect and a certain amount of protection. So I mean, it's like your guest in your house. You got people kicking them, punching them in the balls, and time like that. Do you know what I mean? That's how you let people treat your guests. I wouldn't let people treat my guests like that and get away with it. So yeah, pretty unimpressed by that. Especially like Willie Monroe. He's quite you know, inoffensive kind of character. It'd be different if he was there and he was giving it a lot and he was quite mouthy and aggressive, but he's not. He's quite quiet, chilled out, quite not, well, seems like a very nice bloke. So to behave like that to him, to me, just is too far. He's taking a piss. So yeah, very unimpressed by both him and Frank Warren with that. Yeah, all right. Well, anyway, moving on to the actual fight itself. I think Billy Joe Saunders is going to win. I think they're both good boxers. I think Willie Monroe, most of his boxing is based on the fact that he's just very, very fast, got very quick hands, very quick feet, great reflexes. I mean, he's not called the mongoose for nothing. But from the fights that I've seen, he's fought against people who are, you know, slower than him, and he literally just sort of sits back and just waits to react. And he can be there, and then he can sort of come at like a counter jab, check, hook. Just, you know, he does work the body a little bit, but it's all counter punching and it's all dependent on what the other person does. So when he's fighting someone who's significantly slower than him and he has that natural advantage, then he's able to do that. But I don't think that he's really setting anything up particularly. I haven't seen him. I thought, oh yeah, he's trying to do this, or I can see what he's trying to do here. He's literally just, you know, sort of leaning back. He's quicker than the other person. So when they, like the Gabe Rosado, even like the Triple G fight, Triple G is obviously slower. He was just hunting him down. But for a few rounds at least, he could just use his superior speed to just sort of react to what he did and just get a few sort of pitter-pat shots off. But I haven't really seen him do anything that meaningful. You know, he doesn't really commit to them. So he'll be there and He does get some good like right hand counters. He did some quite good ones against Rosado, but they weren't particularly damaging. He didn't put much behind them. I think in this fight with Saunders is possibly slightly slower than him. There's not much in it. He's very quick himself, very good defence. He's a very good counter puncher. But I think Saunders is much better offensively. I think he can set things up. He's got much better variety. So I think he's going to be the one pushing the action. I think he's a harder puncher. Now, Billy Joe Saunders isn't a massive puncher, but he can punch. I think he can punch a lot harder than Willie Monroe. I think he's got a lot more viciousness in him, and he'll really try and dig him in. I also think that obviously the mentality going into it is very important. All this stuff that's been going on, all the kind of the intimidation tactics, I think he obviously sees Willie Monroe as someone who can be intimidated, someone who will fold under pressure, and I think he'll be quite determined to force that strategy home. And Willie Monroe, to me, does seem quite intimidated. Now, I don't know if that's just his style. I don't know if he just doesn't really like the being around someone like Billy Joe Saunders with his behaviour. Now, Willie Monroe's obviously quite chilled out, respectful. You couldn't say the same thing about Billy Joe Saunders, and maybe he doesn't really like being around him. But it does seem to me he comes across as quite intimidated. We saw him in the Golovkin fight where he said, I'm done, I don't want any more. It got a bit on top and he didn't really need it. Could be that he was just sort of rushed into that fight, wasn't really ready. He just thought, I'm not going to win this. But still, all things point to the fact that if push comes to shove and he gets a bit on top tomorrow night, I think he's quite likely to back down. I don't think he's enjoying his time over in the UK. We've seen what happened. We saw what happened yesterday with talked about with Billy Joe Saunders' son. I think he's not really enjoying himself. I don't think he's mentally in the right mind state for a war. I think Billy Joe Saunders is going to really put it on him. I think he's going to do enough to kind of push him back. If Willie Monroe gets comfortable and he's got time, like he did against Rosado and like a few other fights I've seen, then yeah, he can look good. He reminds me of, it's like exhibition fights. Do you know what I mean? Like in sparring, where you're not really going that hard and there's nothing really to worry about. So he can look very good then. But I think in this fight, in a kind of hostile atmosphere, it's going to be very intense in there. I don't think he's going to do very well. I think he's going to go into a shell. I don't really know if it's going to be a unanimous decision for Billy Joe Saunders or possibly a late stoppage. I think it might be a late stoppage. I think Billy Joe Saunders really wants to put a show on. I think training with Dominic Ingle is going to be very good for him. Because people say, is Dominic Ingle as good a boxing trainer? I've seen quite a few people say this as Jimmy Tibbs. No, but I don't know. But Billy Joe Saunders has been fighting all his life, and he's naturally very good at fighting. He went to the Olympic Games very young. He knows his way around the boxing ring. I think the problem for him, more than anything, was his fitness. We know he doesn't really enjoy the lifestyle. Probably has a few too many pints, a few too many curries, a few too many roast dinners, etc., etc. So I think what he really needed was to get away and go somewhere where the fitness regime and the very sort of disciplinarian style training for him to get into shape. You see the shape that he's in, and we never really see him like this. So I think he's really up for this, because you saw him in the gym with Peacock's gym the other day with the trainer and with Willie Monroe, and he looked really hyped up and he was just really sort of buzzing around. I think he's just well up for it. I think he's the fittest he's ever been, and I think he feels like, I really want to go in there and put on a show. Obviously you've got Canelo and Golovkin fighting the same night. I can see Billy Joe Saunders going in there and, all things considered, just sort of doing a job on him, to be honest. And I think it's going to be a late stoppage. That's my prediction. So let me know what you think, and thank you very much for watching.